Thanks for joining us, Dhani. We're going to talk about the Sony SmartWatch 3, the most advanced Android Wear device on the market, primarily because of its untethered built-in GPS, which we're going to get into a little bit later. But I want to talk about you first, because you are a busy guy.
I travel quite a bit. I have a lot of miles. I log a lot of miles on airplanes, but I'm really excited to be here.
You've had a multifaceted career, starting auspiciously enough with the National Football League as a linebacker.
Yeah, so I got to play in the National Football League for 11 years after graduating from the greatest university, the University of Michigan, and then went from there and then played for the New York Giants for 4 years.
Yep.
Then went from there and played with the Philadelphia Eagles for 3 years, where we went to the Super Bowl. We unfortunately lost to New England's first win, and then went on to the Cincinnati Bengals, and now I reside in Cincinnati, Ohio, which is a fantastic town. I know some people are from Cincinnati. I met someone earlier, but so many people have gathered here today, just kind of descending upon CES, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, that would be enough of a career for most of us.
That's
right?
it.
Yeah, I'd say I'm done.
I'm not retired. I rewired myself.
But shortly thereafter, in 2010, you turned your attention to more philanthropic concerns, well, around bow ties, right?
Yeah, and I don't have one on at the moment, but I do rock bow ties at all times. I started an organization called Bow Tie Cause to support my friend who had cancer, and really utilize the bow tie as that medium to kind of inspire conversation and learn about people's philanthropic endeavors and their commitment to their friends and families who have or are fighting in different areas. So he got better. I never took the bow tie off, and we work with about 150 different organizations all around the world, helping people talk about their causes, and I think that's really important.
That's fantastic, and you're also an author, and you're all over the place on the television.
Yeah, so I have a couple different TV shows, Spike TV show, Playbook 360, as well as Nissan GT Academy. We actually partner with Sony PlayStation as well with GT Academy, which actually shoots over in the UK and allows gamers that are playing Gran Turismo 6 to become actual real race car drivers. So take the virtual world, of which most people are gamers and they sit and they play in the sleds, Gran Turismo 6, and actually take them, allow them to compete against each other in real race cars, and then they become professional race cars. So that was an amazing opportunity in my partnership with Sony PlayStation, as well as Spike TV. So not only doing that, but also DirecTV. Who plays fantasy football? Anybody? There it is. Somebody plays fantasy football. So fantasy football, Fantasy Zone on DirecTV, another opportunity to partner as well. But one of my shows that I'm working on currently is with CNN, and it's called Be a Champion. And I think one of the things that we all realize is there are ways that we can become better as people.
Sure.
We can get better sleep, we can eat better, but most importantly, we can be in better fitness, we can be in better shape. And I think that idea, that mentality, and be able to translate into actual technology so I can learn how I'm becoming a better person is what's so amazing about the Sony SmartWatch 3.
Well, and that's a great lead-in, because you as a professional in the sports arena, but also in thinking of motivation-wise, kind of life coaching, you've probably come across all types of technology and applications and methods. So it'd be really interesting to hear, first off, when you first became acquainted with this product, what were your first impressions?
Well, I'll just say this. When I opened it up, I realized that it had everything. As a professional athlete, you want everything at your fingertips. You want to have all the information basically in your watch. You want it right now, real time. You want to be able to know that you're getting better. As a professional athlete, you want to be able to track all of your data. As I played with New York, Philadelphia, and Cincinnati, we have coaches that do that. We have coaches that are writing down and logging information. And now with the Sony SmartWatch 3, you can have all that information essentially at your fingertips so that you can become coached by yourself. You can actually track. And a lot of people have talked to me today about goals. If you set your goals, now you have an opportunity in order to look at how close you're getting towards those goals.
Yeah, I think it's really motivational to see the information real time and look upon it later to see the history of your progress. So when we think about the applications, there's more than 200 applications, right, for SmartWatch 3, but a number of them are geared to fitness and to the exclusive GPS capability, exclusive among Android Wear devices that the SmartWatch 3 has. How did you experience that of being untethered to your smartphone? and being able to use that.
Yeah, and that's an interesting thing. A lot of different, smart wearable devices are tethered to your phone, and that essentially is running the GPS. And with the Sony SmartWatch 3, you have that untethered GPS, so you can essentially leave that phone at home. If I'm in Cincinnati and I'm going off to take a run, that's the first thing I did. I put my, first of all, it synced right to the experience. It synced right to the phone, right off the bat.
Yep.
And so I know that there was an inherent connectivity. Then I leave the phone at home and I take off on a jog, and I take off around the corner, down the street, up the road, and arrive back to the golf course, take off on a couple of different golf holes, and then come back to the house. And then what I realize is that watch paired with my phone downloads all my data. So my average speed, it clocks the amount of distance that I traveled, and then I swipe over and I go to the map. It shows the distance that I traveled. It showed exactly where I went. It showed the elevation. So it has everything there essentially at my fingertips, so that I can go back and track actually where I've been and where I'm going next.
So there's a number of applications that support this capability. There's MyTracks from Google, there's Sony's own LifeLog application, Runkeeper, but the one that you've honed in on is the iFit Outside.
The iFit, yeah, the iFit Outside is amazing. I mean, you can see on some of the stuff in terms of elevation gain, the average pace, the distance, your fit score, all of these essential pieces to the puzzle that make up your own personal fitness. I talked about it before in terms of being a champion. You want to know if your elevation, if you're running on flat surface or if you're actually tracking upward. You want to know in terms of your average pace if you are actually decreasing your time. Because look, if I'm going out there and I'm running a 9-minute mile, I want to know the next time I'm going to run an 8-minute and 30-second mile, because of the fact that I know I'm getting better. I know that my health and wellness is dependent upon me decreasing my scores and making sure my time goes down. And there are over 200 different apps that you can place into this watch. And they're consistently getting more and more, because as sport increases, you want to be able to track everything. And as a professional athlete, you want to know everything that's essentially going on around you.
So you're using the SmartWatch 3 with this iFit Outside application. You see the data on the watch, but then you get back home, you sync up with the smartphone.
It syncs up automatically.
Yep.
It syncs up automatically. As soon as I'm within Bluetooth range, it downloads that data. And now I can go on my phone, I can look at, okay, I went for a run on Handyside. I went for a run on Menlo Park. I went for a bike ride down Columbia Parkway. I went for a walk down Madison Avenue. And I can look at all those specific workouts that I just did, and I can tap on it. I can see the distance I traveled. I can see exactly where I went. And then I can be able to recreate any of those different experiences, because, as I said before, it's important for me to remember where I went and what I did.
And I know when you talk about where you went, you've been all over the place.
A couple different
Yeah, so you had this program, Dhani Tackles the Globe,
Yep.
right? So can you imagine, you've been running and working out, I mean extreme workouts in that program, right? Can you imagine that if you were to take those workouts and be able to take that experience and recall that and work out indoors, say on a treadmill?
Well, I think there's some workouts that I'd like to remember, and others that I'd like to put away.
Okay.
There were some difficult workouts on some of my travels, and I'll say that one of the most difficult ones was actually going to Nepal, and I climbed to the base camp at Mount Everest. I started off at about 235 pounds, and by the time I got up to base camp and back down, I was down at 210 pounds. And this is in the middle of a season, during my off-season training.
Wow.
One of the things I'd love to have had is actually had this Sony smartwatch, is the fact that I could bring it back to the coach and say, this is how many calories I lost.
You can show proof.
I can show proof, besides the fact that my pants didn't fit anymore, and I was probably a size large instead of an extra large. I would have actually had evidence, because that's how much information you can actually track. But that's probably one of the workouts that I wanted to remember, and some of the ones that I didn't want to remember are ones that were just tireless hours.
Now you've put yourself through much more severe conditions that I think most of us weekend warriors would probably put ourselves through. But you live in Cincinnati where it gets quite cold. You said you even run out in 15-degree weather.
Yeah, but I mean, that's what's so great about the watch, is that it can deal with all the different elements, whether it's snow, whether it's rain, hot, whether it's cold. I mean, the way that it handles the elements and still is able to translate the data is imperative, because as an athlete, you're sweating a lot. I'm a sweater. If I'm out there and I'm running 5 miles, I'm running 10 miles. I'm coming back and my clothes are soaked.
Yeah.
But I want to make sure my device is remembering that information. And even so, when you're out there, and this is one of the things I experienced when I was on a run, I had not charged my watch for probably 3 days. And then finally it kind of gave out because I thought the battery was going to last forever. And it lasted 3 days. Can you imagine that?
Yeah, yeah.
That's unheard of in terms of the amount of time that it actually lasted. But when I got back to my watch, and got back to my phone, it still downloaded all the data.
Man.
So you don't even have to worry about that.
And that's a good thing to consider because we talk about the sexier features, if you will, and all the applications, but you got to have those fundamentals down. You got to have long battery life, which this has the highest capacity of any Android Wear device.
And it also tracks the battery life of your actual phone as well. So it tracks the battery life of your phone and then also battery life of your watch. And then it can kind of go into the efficiency mode as well, which is really cool. So that even when you're kind of down to that 2% and 1%, it just kind of carries it on just for a little bit longer. And then it still stores all that data, that important data. As an athlete, you want that data.
So maybe it won't give out before you do, right?
Probably not.
So now going back to the iFit Outside application, and I know that you'll run in any kind of conditions, but there's a lot of times where you want to take your workout indoors, right? And so the fact that you have GPS on the SmartWatch 3, well, we talked about the syncing up with the smartphone, and that then syncs up with your iFit account online in the cloud, so you have that history always available to you. But then there's another link in the chain here talking about taking your outside workout and bringing it inside. That GPS data can be fed into this wonderful Nordic Track smart treadmill, and you can relive the experience of where you were.
So all the different elevations gain, all the different average speeds are directly programmed into the Nordic Track.
Because what it incorporates, in addition to your data from iFit Outside and the GPS information, it uses Google Street View. So you're seeing the terrain, you're seeing the turn by turn, and those elevation changes are there as well.
So every place that you essentially go and all the places that you travel to, now you have them essentially built into your treadmill because you want to remember the last trip that you took, whether you're in Paris, you made a long run, or whether you're in, I don't know, you might be in Spain, you might be in Barcelona or somewhere. You want to remember that trip, and I think that's what's so great as well. You can program it right into the Nordic Track.
So it's whether it's a convenient situation, like you run locally and there's a favorite run, but you just can't get out of the house for whatever reason, or you want to remember those fantastic locations. This is a way of doing it to increase your motivation and to keep you on point.
And to keep your goals right.
Exactly.
Because that's what happens to a lot of people. They forget that when you travel, you should also stay working out. When you travel, you also want to remember some of those experiences. And now you can be able to do that. I think that's fantastic.
And now you have fewer excuses.
No more excuses. I think that's the goal for 2015. We're moving into a world with no more excuses.
That's the mantra for 2015?
Right, exactly. Well, because now you have your Sony smartwatch that has all the information, has all of your most recent workouts and all the different backlog data, and you can now put your goals right there on the watch. And essentially it's all there for you to hold yourself accountable. So before you had the coach that was calling you, now your watch is telling you, look, you need to step it up just a little bit.
And you got nobody to blame but yourself.
Nobody to blame but yourself.
So Dhani, before we go, and folks, if you have any questions and if you want to meet Dhani, you want to talk about SmartWatch 3 or about your illustrious career, you definitely make me feel like I need to do more with my time.
We can go for a jog right now.
Excellent. I have one last question for you. Do you think it's possible we can come up with a product that combines SmartWatch 3 and a bow tie?
Who would be for that? Anybody?
Anyone?
You'd be for that? You'd be for that. Both of them before that, exactly. Yeah, I think that the one thing that I'd love to track is people's philanthropic giving. Philanthropy, if we could track that, that'd be fantastic. And I think that's what we do through Bowtie Cause. But as we track your philanthropic engagement, the most important philanthropy is really to yourself in terms of how you take care of your body, how do you take care of your health and wellness. And I think with the Sony SmartWatch 3, you can essentially do that. Keep yourself accountable, keep yourself in shape. The healthy, longer living and your overall lifestyle will improve. That's the power of it all.
Excellent. Well, Dhani, thank you for joining us today.
All right, thank
you. And thank you for wearing the team jersey.
Oh, yeah.
Appreciate that.
I'm not going anywhere. Anybody
Ladies and gentlemen, Dhani Jones, thank you.